2020. That's just insane. What's up guys, and welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, I saw that a lot of people were posting 19 things that 2019 has brought me and things like that, other videos like that. So I figured I would do a little backtrack of this entire decade actually, because this was actually a very transformative decade for me, as I believe it would be for most people. For me, I went through my entire teenage years during this decade, so I figured I would go through this decade and talk about all of the things in my life that have happened this decade. So before I start, I just want to talk about where I'm at right now. I'm currently in my bedroom at home. I didn't really have a place to film, so I kind of just picked a random corner, so that's why my background's like not a thing. And obviously there's no daylight left. We get like so few hours of daylight now, so yeah, we're doing the best with what we got. I'm also sitting right next to a vent, so my hair keeps like getting all over the place. So I figured I'd go through the decade and talk about not only the things that happened per year, but also the things that I'm really grateful for, the things that have really changed my life in this decade. So this decade has been amazing, to be honest. It's been messy, it's been crazy, lost people, loved people, like, but I feel like it is something to be grateful for, so I do want to walk through what has happened. Yeah, let's just jump right into it. 2010. So in 2010, for those of you who don't know, I am currently 20 years old. In 2010, I entered the year being 10 years old and turned 11 in this year. So this decade is literally 10 to 20. Which is really cool. This was when I started to take writing more seriously. So before 2010, if you try to find any journals of mine, you'll find a bunch sporadically with no dates and everything all over the place and me just complaining about my life. But starting in 2010, I started to actually have journals per year, and I would make it more artistic rather than just words about what's going on, like summaries of my days. It was more storytelling and more narrative style, and I started to take the art of like literature and writing more seriously. And it's also when I entered middle school, which if any of you have gone through middle school, you know that this is such a ridiculously transformative time of your life. It's when I re-met my best friend. His name's Shane. I don't know when he'll be on my channel, but he will be at some point. It's just so hard for us to get our schedules together since we go to college in different states. So you'll be seeing hopefully a bit of him in the near future. But yeah, my best friend Shane, he lived across the street from me for as long as I could remember. And then in elementary school, he had to switch schools. So he switched schools, and in middle school, we find both our schools came together. So I got the chance to re-meet him, and to this day he's still one of my favorite people, and we became best friends again, which was awesome. We had a pretty rocky start at first because we didn't really know how to treat each other, like if we just like pick up where we left off, or if we would like restart our friendship. So it was pretty chaotic at first, but it was really nice, and he's one of the few friends that I still keep from my early childhood. In fact, I think he's actually the only friend that I have from my actual childhood. Yeah, he's literally my best friend. So yeah, 2010 is when I started taking everything a little more seriously. It's also when I took guitar more seriously. So I had taken piano lessons basically my entire life, and I hated them. I just hated someone telling me when to practice, what to do, what songs to play, what kind of music to be playing, and it was just frustrating. And also my older sister always played piano too, and she was always better than me, which probably makes sense because she had years of practice ahead of me. But my natural competitive nature, what? But yeah, I just felt frustrated by the fact that she was significantly better than me. Felt like I could never get that good, so I just kind of didn't put in effort to be good at piano. But when I got my first guitar, I put in so much effort to learn and to self-teach. So 2010 is when I really started to learn how to play this instrument and how to make real music out of it. 2010 was the beginning of the decade and a pretty good start, to be honest. I honestly don't have many bad memories from 2010. 2011. This is when I started taking music more seriously. So I started posting covers on Facebook and started to put myself out there more and try to perform more. I performed in talent shows and stuff like that. It's kind of dorky, but like, and it's also when I developed a true meaning of friendship. So this was 2011 was when I was going from 6th to 7th grade, so this was middle school, a very like transformative time of your life, obviously. So it was when I was meeting friends that were gonna kind of walk through my years of growth with me. So this is when I tried, or really started to develop what kind of friend I wanted to be, and what friendship meant to me, whether it was like I was gonna drop all for my friends or if I had to put myself first. And it's when I decided who I really wanted to be friends with and who just wanted to be friends with me, and I felt desperate to have that social interaction. So it's kind of deep for a 12-year-old, but this is around the time when I started to realize that not all people that want to be friends with you are good to have in your life. 2012. 2012 was when I made my first YouTube channel, and it was a channel full of me making covers of songs that I really liked at the time, but to be honest, they weren't really my style of music for me as a musician, despite how I loved all those songs. So all of those videos are privated, but it was when I made my first YouTube channel and started putting myself out there as a musician. And it's when I really started thinking about what I was going to do with my future. I do still have that YouTube channel and I'm thinking about revamping it, to be honest. Anyway, just a little trailer into what's going to be happening in the upcoming year. So yeah, this was around the time when my sister started going on college visits. So this was when I started realizing, like, oh my gosh, she has a future that she's trying to decide. I have a future that I need to decide at some point. So started thinking about my future and what I really wanted to be when I grew up, not just in like the kid, like I want to be a doctor, I want to do this, but like actually thinking about what it meant to get there, and what I would have to do and the work I would have to do to get there. So me and my dad made like this little makeshift recording studio in his office with like a soundboard and professional mics and everything, and we would just record things and try to get things out there, and try to really start making me take myself seriously as a musician. But I feel like there was a lot of pressure on me to grow quickly and to know what kind of musician I wanted to be and what kind of music I wanted to make, and it kind of started to damper my passion for music. So I ended up stopping making videos on that channel, and kind of taking a break from music for a bit. 2013. This was a horrible year. The only thing I remember from this year is the toxic friendships that I had with people who really shouldn't have been in my life, and all of the mental health issues that I had because of that and because of other things. And so in 2013, that's when I turned 14, and it's when I was going through, it was like 8th grade to 9th grade. So it's also when I met someone who I was actually interested in having a relationship with. It was like my first experience with any type of relationship, romance type of thing. So that was really interesting. He is still someone that's a friend of mine, and we still respect each other really highly, but obviously because I was going through all of the things I was going through, that relationship didn't work out, and we were also so young and we had so much growing to do. So but that was a very interesting year in my life where I was going through a lot, but it pushed me to be a better person in so many ways. It helped me to learn how to be more selfless and how to put others first, even if it was through a toxic mindset. In the beginning, it's a value that I've kept with me throughout my life, that other people do matter, and you don't know what's going on in their lives, and you're not living their lives for them, and you can't control how they're feeling or thinking or anything. Because I remember going through all this stuff, no matter what people said to me, negative or positive, it didn't really impact the way that I felt about myself, because I felt so strongly negative about myself. So, moving on. 2014. My sister had graduated high school. So this kind of put my life in perspective a little bit. I realized I had to grow up pretty quickly. I had to actually be a role model to my little sister because the only eyes she had were on me as a role model, because my older sister wasn't around as much anymore. So that was really stressful. But it was also, it was really good for me and taught me to be more responsible, and that my actions have an impact on other people and have consequences. So that happened, and also the pressure to know who I am started to really catch up to me. Sorry, I keep looking down. This is where my notes are. But yeah, I started to realize that now that she's graduated, the spotlight's on me to figure out what I want to do with my life and how I'm going to get there. So I started putting even more pressure on myself, looking into colleges, even though I was only going into like my freshman year to 10th grade, freshman year to my sophomore year. So it was pretty early to be doing this, but when you have an older sibling, it kind of pushes you to move quicker, just because you were there with them for their college visits, and now that they're in college, you're like, oh my gosh, it's my turn to do college visits. So it was really stressful, and a lot of that stress was self-induced, and I know that, but to be honest, I was very ready for college by the time I got there, because I'd watched my sister and every step she took, and like, I don't know, not that I was ready for college. Actually, I think that's a horrible thing to say. Nobody's ever ready for college. No one's ever ready for the next step in their life. No matter what you go through in your previous step of life, you're not ready for the next step. Anyway, small rant. 2015. I had the best group of friends that I've ever had in my life. Like, actually the best group of friends that I've ever had in my life. I haven't had a group of friends that lives up to this group of friends. And within this year and the next year, we actually ended up splitting up and going separate ways in a very dramatic and horrible way, but the memories that I have with them and of this year are still amazing, and I don't regret anything that came out of these friendships, but it also is when I started developing my concept of love. So with this group of friends came a new relationship after my previous one had ended. I got into a relationship with my best friend at the time, who also happened to be one of my childhood friends, and we just made such wonderful memories that I can't even explain. Like, they were just like the best memories of my life to this day, because they were so youthful and so fun. Like, we went to so many football games, and we watched so many movies together. We had so many days where we were breaking curfew, and it was just so fun. And it was what I wish my entire youth was made out of. So I choose to remember these memories as good rather than adding any bitterness because of how things broke up. 2015, wonderful year. I honestly love those people still, even though we haven't spoken in forever. But every time I think about it, I just feel so much warmth in me. It's also when I started volunteering. For those of you who don't know, one of the most important things in my life that has happened in my life was I volunteered for this group called Best Buddies, and they were basically a group of teenagers that had special needs and cognitive disabilities, and we would hang out with them for the night. And one of my favorite events was coffee houses, so I would perform at the coffee houses and then bring some of them with me to perform on the stage with me, and just kind of crack open their shell a little bit and get them more comfortable with the social environment and feeling good about themselves and feeling applauded for. And it was just a wonderful time in my life. So this is the year that all of that started, and I found kind of like my purpose in life. Like, I knew that these kids with special needs were really going to be important, and to this day I still remember all of their names, and I still think about them when I'm going through a rough time. So that's what happened in 2015. It was one of the best years of my life, to be honest. On to 2016. This is when I started to actually think about what I wanted to do in college, when I started doing college searches. So for those of you who don't know, I applied to every single school that I applied to for college with a different major because I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I was very okay with a bunch of different things, but the only thing that I knew was that I wanted to do something creative. And the reason why I ended up in a business major was because business was the most vague way to create something. It didn't put me in a box. Like, I could still write, I could still do music, I could do whatever I want within business. So, yeah, I started deciding that I wanted to do something creative, started applying to college. I actually got accepted to college that year, and I got accepted to the school that I'm in right now that year because I applied early action, or early decision. And the rest of the schools I applied as early action. So this was the first major accomplishment in my life where I was like, I'm finally getting somewhere. Like, it's not just all for nothing. And I feel like I spent from like the beginning of this decade till like this point really stressing about, am I doing good enough? Am I on the right path? Am I on the right track? And finally I got something that proved that I have a means to be just as successful and just as happy. So I got my first and second jobs this year also. So I worked in Hollister, which honestly is hilarious to me now because I still remember the songs. Like, they play soundtracks that are honestly pretty short. So when you work a 4-hour shift, those songs are just ingrained in you. So like when I hear songs like at wherever I am, like with my friends hanging out, I'll be like, oh my gosh, this is a Hollister song, or like I remember folding jeans to the song. So it's really funny. Every time I walk into there, it like smells like the same like perfume that I would spray around the store. So yeah, I got that as my first job. My second job was at this camp slash daycare that worked with literal toddlers, like 2 to 3 year olds, to I think 60-year-olds with cognitive disabilities, physical disabilities, special needs in general. So I worked with them. I would work with them 2 days a week, and then over the summers I would work full-time as a counselor for them. So that was another like wonderful purpose-driven job for me. And it's when I started really saving money and realizing what it means to budget and just all of those things. And this year I also got into a new relationship. So that previous relationship that I talked about didn't last much longer than that group of friends lasted. So when the group of friends started falling apart, so did my relationship, unfortunately. 2016 is the longest break I think I'd had from a relationship. It's when I got into a relationship that ended up lasting 2 years, and one of my favorite people in the world to this day. So I created a bunch of wonderful memories this year, in 2016, and really started to see direction for my life and started to see that there could be good things coming out of my future instead of just seeing like the toxic friendships and the mental health issues and all the things I was dealing with. So yeah, 2016 was great, to be honest. 2017, oh my gosh. Whew. So this was the year that I graduated from high school. Another great accomplishment. Not that I wouldn't have graduated from high school, but there were a lot of scares here and there, like things that I just overly stressed myself out about. But yes, I did graduate high school, and I was really proud of myself for working as hard as I did. And honestly, looking back in retrospect, I didn't work as hard as I could have, but I got a lot done considering all the things I was involved in. I was involved in the drama club, I was involved in volunteering, I had a job, I had 2 jobs actually, and I maintained friendships and all that. So like graduating high school and leaving behind this part of my life that was so transformative was really amazing for me. 2017 was also when I realized that I'm a very flawed person with a lot of issues that I still have to work through. And it's also when I went through my first really hard breakup. Not that the previous ones weren't hard, it's just when we broke up, I knew that there was going to be a large gap between that breakup and me healing. So there was a lot of heartbreak, there was a lot of pain that was going on, and a lot of change because I was going into college and going through a breakup and leaving behind friends, and my best friend goes to school states away, like in Florida, so it was so hard. And I kind of had a crisis about who I wanted to be and what the past had set me up for. I felt like my past and what I had done in the past and the people that I've had in my past didn't set me up to be a very good person or a very good sister, daughter, friend, or girlfriend or anything. I just felt like I had to rebuild myself from the ground up, and that was really hard because I was already trying to build my life, let alone my personality and who I was gonna be. So that was really tough. But honestly, that was full of accomplishments. That year was full of accomplishments and a lot of change, and I got through it. Clearly, because I'm here. So on to 2018. This was definitely the worst year of my life. Like, I am not even exaggerating. So I could not figure out who I was or who I wanted to be. Like I said, back to that existential crisis that I had the year prior. I just couldn't figure out like why I was in my major, why I was at the school I was at, why I had the friends that I had. Are those friends even real? Like, and I was in a relationship and I was like, am I even ready to be in a relationship? I didn't trust myself to love anyone else or to be loved by anyone else. But it was the year that I got a job at my school, a job that has been really good for me, and it's when I began my relationship with the person that I'm currently with. But like I said, it was really tough trying to figure out who I was and what I was trying to do, and I kind of walked through this whole year kind of numb, like tumbling through it, just like day by day. All right, wake up, have breakfast, do this, do that, get there, whatever, and be here. I don't know. And a lot of my friendships kind of struggled because I didn't trust that they were really trying to be my friends. Point is, 2018 sucked. On to 2019. This was a great year to end the decade with because I got my first internship, which means that I can finally see some light at the end of the tunnel for college and for just my childhood, which is weird because I'll be like starting my career. So that's really insane. And I finally found a place in school that makes me feel comfortable and happy, and a group of people that like really bring the best out of me. And I found a legacy that I want to leave behind when it comes to like the honor board and some stuff that I'm doing there, and helping like some new clubs just rise. I feel like that's what I've decided that I'm best at. 2019, I just feel like has been a really good year for starting has been a really good year to start the next decade off. And I feel like I'm starting it off with a lot of new beginnings, which is really wonderful. I feel like I'm finally starting to see where my past ends, my present begins, and my future will be, rather than blending them all into one and into one reality for me, which has been really messy. But yeah, overall, I feel like this past year and this past decade has been really, really good, and there have definitely been rough times. I'm not gonna lie, but there's definitely a lot of good coming out of the next year and the next decade that I can already like see and project, and I'm really excited, honestly. I'm not really the type who's like, oh my god, I can't wait till the new year, new beginnings, but I really do feel like I'm starting off the year with a lot of new beginnings and a lot of potential and a lot of new projects that are happening, which I will be announcing soon, and hopefully you guys are interested in seeing as well. But yeah, walking into it with this YouTube channel, which I started in the past year, and the blog that I have and the podcast that I have, and just like all these personal projects and things that are really coming together for me in life. So I have no storage left, so I'm gonna end this video.